Keeping cats indoors is very important. A number of free-roaming cats in the neighborhood can devastate bird and lizard populations. Plus, it is not healthy for a cat to remain unattended outdoors. For more information, visit the American Bird Conservancy website. A source of water in the yard will attract many different wildlife species. Ponds and bird baths are good ways to provide water for wildlife. A pond is a more natural way to go, providing water for birds, mammals, and even beneficial insects. For example, dragonflies, the hawks of the insect world, will lay their eggs in the pond. You will soon have a lot of dragonflies in the backyard patrolling for insects. If you see invasive plants on your property, get rid of them. Take them up, pull them out of the ground, take them to the nearest trash can, throw them in. Invasive plants destroy lots of natural vegetation and lots of wildlife habitat. Now, before a homeowner moves in, the developer has designed and landscaped the entire neighborhood. A developer determines how large the lots are, what types of plants are installed, whether to preserve open space, and many other design features. You know, a developer with one stroke of the pen determines whether wildlife habitat is preserved at the scale of the neighborhood. Thus, to have an entire neighborhood friendly to wildlife, a developer has to think both in terms of design and management. Let's go visit a few developments and see what they've done. Here we are in a new community called Madera in Gainesville, Florida. Just starting out, the developer Green Trust has done many things for wildlife. Wendy.
Hey Mark.
How's it going?
Just fine.
You know, I just love this layout. There's lots of trees here. Can you tell me some of the other things you've been doing to benefit wildlife and create wildlife habitat?
Well, you mentioned the trees first. We wanted this community to be about a forest, to be about homes tucked in the forest. And so we designed it with the idea that if you flew over the community, after development you wouldn't see any change from before development because the canopy was left intact. We left our open space. We essentially designed the open space first and then fit the houses and roads in around it, which is kind of opposite from the way most developers do it.
The developer has saved many of these large trees in the community, which is great for wildlife. You know, it takes decades to grow them, so instead of cutting them down, preserving them, you got instant wildlife habitat. This is the other retention area behind me, and it looks pretty natural. The idea being is that the developer has found an area on the property that slopes downwards so that when it rains, this fills up, and over time it percolates into the ground, and it serves the purpose of retaining water on the site. Well, here I am in the retention pond, and this is a pretty cool spot to hang out. If I was an animal with all these trees and bushes, this would be great. Now when it does rain, well, I'd be underwater, but then if I was a frog, I'd come down here and lay my eggs. Right next door to Madera, sandhill cranes come during the day to forage for food. These large, charismatic species stand 5 feet tall and are reported to appear each morning next to Madera. These cranes migrate to Florida during the winter, and each day they come to this field looking for insects, grubs, and grain. Here in Madera, we have homeowners living right next to sandhill cranes. But there's some danger of the homeowners disturbing the cranes, so as a solution, the developer has made this little natural barrier between the sandhills and the homeowners, kind of like a buffer area where it prevents the sandhill cranes from seeing the homeowners and all the noise from the homes disturbing the sandhill cranes. Woohoo! Look at this! We spotted a whooping crane in the middle of the sandhills. This large white crane is an endangered species and very rare to see in Florida. This whooper probably followed the sandhills here to see what they were eating. The developer has placed trails throughout the community in Madera, and as homeowners are walking through, they are enjoying the outdoors, the developer thought we need to give them a little more information about wildlife. So they're placing these signs. This is a prototype along these trails. This one discussing sandhill cranes, but later on in the year it'll discuss a different species. So the idea is to give people information not only to understand the species that live in the area, but how to live with them. That's how they do things here in Madera. Now we're going to visit another development that's landscape for wildlife at the neighborhood level. The town of Harmony, located in central Florida, is a large 11,000-acre development. A new residential community, this property is a beautiful site with a mixture of forests, lakes, and open rangeland. To learn more about how this community is living with wildlife, we met up with the conservation manager, Greg Gogowski.
Harmony was built on the former Triple E Ranch. It was a cattle ranch, and they also grew a lot of hay here. And on the board that you see before you, these lighter areas were all former pasture. All the development that we've done has been on that pasture. We've tried to protect the wetland systems, the upland areas, just as much as we can. In fact, there are probably more trees here now than before we started. Harmony has got about 11,000 acres of land that we're dealing with, which is a big chunk. And we're trying to keep roughly 70% of that as open space. Now, some of that open space consists of lakes, and we have 2 lakes, about 500 acres apiece on the property. We have a lot of wetlands on the property, wooded wetlands and marshes and all. So they'll be set aside as well, and we've got parks that are really managed as green areas. Even the golf preserve is not your typical golf course, but it has wildlife features worked into it as well. So managing that and getting residents involved in that is pretty much a full-time job that we're very excited about.
To get a closer look at Harmony and some of its wildlife, Greg and I hopped into a cart to explore the area.
Hey, I noticed all these lights around here. They're kind of uniquely looking. What are they? Are they?
Well, they're referred to as full cutoff luminaries. They shine light straight down the ground in a little pool, and it's pretty dramatic at night. Of course, the purpose is to protect the night sky from light pollution. And they work very well. You can come out here at night and find your way easily down the streets and feel very comfortable walking around, but still be able to see through it all and see the stars up above.
So Greg, we're right here in this nice little kind of forest, a wetland, right before we come upon the lake. And Harmony preserved this from having homes being out here?
Exactly, yeah. This is the part of our Buck Lake Park. And you're right, ordinarily this would have a home site or maybe even a commercial center on it. But instead we've been able to keep the pines here and the real open feeling of being out in the woods.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I guess instead of one resident enjoying it, all the residents get to enjoy the lake by coming to this piece.
This is a great wind-down area for residents too. Just after the end of the day, just come on down to the lake and let it blow out.
That's neat.
And we intend to keep it just like it is. We think there's more economic value in this as a resource than dividing it into house lots.
What a lake, but we didn't see much wildlife. Greg and I got back into the cart and went cruising to see if we could locate some animals. First up, we came upon a pair of black vultures. They seemed to be fighting, and one got so upset that it literally lost its lunch. Oh boy, that looked like part of an armadillo. Wildlife is not always a pretty sight, but vultures serve an essential role by consuming dead animals. Next, we came upon a pair of sandhill cranes. These guys were quite tame, probably as a result of people feeding them. This is a big no-no, as these birds are known to tear up porch screens looking for food. Wildlife-human interactions can become problematic, but many can be quite positive. For example, viewing wildlife is a bonus for Harmony residents.
My favorite animal is, well, the armadillo. Yeah, they look like a little rabbit jumping around.
A little rabbit with some armor on it.
Yeah. And their shell is pretty hard.
What's your favorite animal so far that you've seen?
The deer are really beautiful. And at Thanksgiving time, we had the turkeys crossing the road, and I kept warning them that they could get eaten alive, but they made it through Thanksgiving, and in the morning when you come to work, you see them walking across the road.
Wild turkey. Now these are interesting birds. Greg and I got back into the cart to search for these elusive animals.
Now, as you can see behind me, there's a flock of about 20 turkeys. And these turkeys are here because it's perfect habitat for them. There's the golf course with the open areas, and you can see the tree line in the back where they roost at night. So they come out here during the day and go back to the forest at night. So this mixture of habitat is perfect for the turkey. Now, they're kind of skittish, but I'm going to see how close I can get to them.
Well, I couldn't get too close to these wary critters. This brings up an interesting point. Some wildlife species will always be wary of humans, and other species can become a problem for homeowners. To help educate homeowners about proper wildlife management, the developers have crafted CCRs, or Covenants, Codes, and Restrictions. This document is a guide for homeowners about what they can and cannot do in regards to wildlife, setting the tone for the community. For example, Harmony residents cannot feed alligators as they become dangerous when fed.
So you see, developers can employ a variety of methods to benefit wildlife. Next, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to visit an area where the citizens have paid to preserve wildlife habitat in their county. So let's go take a ride.
We are headed to Alachua County, Florida, where its citizens voted on a quarter-cent property tax that essentially raised millions of dollars to buy valuable habitat. This initiative, called Alachua County Forever, was placed on a ballot in a previous election and citizens voted on it. To learn about this unique program, we went to the Alachua County Environmental Protection Office and spoke with one of the project managers.
Ramesh,
Hey, Mark.
how's it going?
Good.
Ramesh is the Alachua County Forever Programs Manager, and it's a really interesting project. Can you tell me a little bit more about what they're doing here?
Sure, Mark. Alachua County Forever was a voter initiative passed in the year 2000. Over 60% of the people voted for it. They really wanted to save the last environmentally sensitive lands in Alachua County. And what the vote basically did was approve up to $29 million that we can spend on environmentally sensitive land.
Well, I notice you have a map here on the table. Can we see some of the parcels that that you're doing?
Sure. What the map basically shows, these are the existing conservation lands in the county, and all these other colors are projects that people have submitted. For example, we've already bought this piece of Mill Creek, bought this piece down here in Lochloosa, and we just closed on a piece right in the city of Gainesville on 16th Avenue called Bevel Creek.
And when you're buying, are you partnering with other people to help buy some of these properties?
We've really done a really good job of identifying partners and bringing them to the table. And the one that we'll see today, Bevel Creek, the city and the state and the property owner all contributed to purchasing that piece of property. So that was a wonderful example of a four-way partnership.
So we can go visit one of these?
Absolutely. We can go see this one today.
So here we are in this beautiful parcel as part of the program, and we brought along Ann Bigelow, who's the manager and ecologist for these properties, and Ramesh is here, and this is just a beautiful piece of property. What kind of things are you doing to help restore it? What are some of the features that you have here within the property?
Well, this property was recently purchased. We've had it about 1 month, and we have a plan for how we're going to manage it. The first thing we do is come in and do a complete inventory of all the species that are on here, the plants and animals. Then we start working on the non-native invasives. This property has a lot of different exotic plants that have migrated in from the adjacent neighborhoods. One of them, Ardesia, is covering the uplands in this property, and we'll be removing that and trying to restore the natural area, which is really good habitat for wildlife.
With a little initiative and gung-ho, citizens can rally together and conserve wildlife habitat across an entire county. Almost any county could implement this type of program. To learn more, visit the Alachua County website.
Hello, Dakota. Dakota's a barred owl. It's been injured and cannot be released into the wild.
Beyond the scale of the yard, developers can set aside and manage natural areas for wildlife. Plus, entire communities can save large patches of wildlife habitat. To learn more about landscaping for wildlife, visit the University of Florida's Wildlife Extension website.
I'm kind of hungry. What about you, Dakota? Let's go check out the backyard here and see if we can find something to eat. You know, I see a grasshopper over here. It looks pretty good. Let's go check this out. What do you say?